G'day and welcome to the Tune Up with myself, Nick Canizzo. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Golf R. Not just any Golf R, the Mark 7.5 Special Edition. Special. Let's go have a look.
The standard Golf is inoffensive to look at, and the R is no different. Although, to the trained eye, it's slightly more sporty, but it's still understated, and the buyers for this car will love that. The Golf R is often lauded as the perfect blend between daily drivability and weekend warrior performance, all moulded into a well-sized package that is designed to suit all needs, all times, to all people. So is this car perfect? Or is it a jack of all trades, but master of none? The Special Edition gets a few upgrades on top of the standard R. The black pack, which is on the mirrors, lower skirts and nicer upgraded wheels, looks really good. Set against the gold paint, it kind of reminds me of the hairy chest of an Arab prince with gold chains, but strangely I still like it. The brakes are bigger and stronger too, borrowed from the GTI Club Sport S. But the Special Edition doesn't get any more power than the standard Golf R, so I'm not sure if this is actually required. The major exciting upgrade is the very unfortunately named but lovely sounding Akrapovic titanium exhaust, but more on that later. The Special Edition also gets a very nice upgraded sound system by Dyna Audio. But the interior of the Mark 7.5 is upgraded over the Mark 7 in two other major ways. The first is the digital gauge cluster, which looks nice, and the second is the head unit, which is a much more modern design. There is no volume knob anymore, only stupid capacitive buttons. But that's no real loss because my OCD never let me use the old knob anyway. For obvious reasons. But the sadist German engineers strike again, this time with the USB slot, which, if you were given the gift of hands, is seemingly impossible to use. And then once you get your phone plugged in and say CarPlay up and running, the phone pocket was designed to not actually hold a phone. Brilliant engineering. Well done, VW. The luxury of a car can be measured by one simple test: how slowly the glove box opens. Not very slick. The front seats are pretty comfortable for daily driving, and the bolstering is also pretty good for sporty driving too. The rear legroom is about standard for a car of this class, and I can almost fit behind my driving position, but the headroom is actually surprisingly good. I guess the shape of the Golf makes it a practical car. Boot space isn't massive and does with 40 litres less than the GTI because of the Haldex all-wheel drive system, but it does fit me. And being a hatch with a non-sloping roof, the cargo space becomes almost van-like when the rear seats are folded down. So we can break the drive down into a few key categories. First, acceleration. The Golf R is equipped with the EA888 engine, which is known for its smooth daily drivability and ample torque between 3,000 and 5,000 RPM. While it may not be the most thrilling engine to rev out to the red line, it's still plenty quick enough with a 0 to 100 time of 4.8 seconds with a hard all-wheel drive launch. Many people choose to tune their Golf R for more power, as it's so easy to do, but the reality is that it's already a highly capable car that doesn't necessarily need any upgrades. The car stock is already a great option for those who want a reliable and practical vehicle with a touch of performance. The DSG gearbox in this car is a little bit like Jekyll and Hyde though. It's got two personalities that can leave you either feeling thrilled or disappointed. In comfort mode, it can be a bit like a sluggish slacker. It's like the gearbox is taking a nap and only wakes up when it feels like it. And when it does finally wake up, it shuffles gears like a deck of cards to save fuel. Not very fun. Additionally, the owner of this car reports slow speed hesitation, especially around car parks, which can be frustrating. But then, when you put the gearbox in race mode, it's like a teenager who's had their first energy drink. It's very excitable and it is a hilarious laugh. What it is missing is a Goldilocks setting. It's either a race car or a granny car, which is very frustrating. These problems can go away if you use the paddles to shift yourself, but where are the paddle shifters? They're so small, it's like they're trying to hide from you. They belong in a video game or a toy car or something, not in a high performance vehicle. For me, this is the biggest disappointment with the Golf R. And honestly, an area that all other reviewers should be taken out the back and shot for lying to consumers. Take a look at this unstabilised footage on a normal road. Even when this car is fitted with dynamic chassis control, the adaptive dampers, the car is constantly fidgeting over every surface. Hitting potholes in even the softest setting is a cringeworthy experience. And having to explain to your passengers that your car is uncomfortable because it's sporty is not something that I think Golf buyers would want to do.
It drives well on roads like these, but look how smooth these roads are as well. This is like the perfect conditions for a Golf, like slight sweeping corners, no bumps whatsoever. Like, this is genuinely a perfect road for this car. As soon as you start adding some imperfections in, then you feel it all coming back through your entire body. The exhaust actually doesn't sound as aggressive as what I thought it was going to sound. For a titanium, very, expensive option, it sounds lovely, and it sounds better on the upshifts and the downshifts. Do you wish it was louder?
I wish there was an option to make it louder. For day-to-day driving, like when I'm coming out of my driveway and in my garage, I feel sorry for my neighbours.
Right, okay, so it's too loud for daily?
Well, it's quite loud when you turn the car on. Like it must have an option that when it turns on, it brings it to life.
Oh, okay. It's got the annoy neighbour mode.
Yeah. But yeah, it would be nice if it was maybe a tiny bit louder when you were
In race mode?
in race mode.
Yeah, okay. Let me try and open the rear windows a little bit. Does that... Hang on. There we go. I've turned it off. I've gone the wrong way. Yeah, okay, now we're off. Now we're off. So the rear windows are now slightly open. Does it give more noise? Let's go manual mode. Oh, that's better. But this, you get more exhaust noise, which balances it much nicer. It's a much nicer overall tone because you get the intake noise and then you get the exhaust noise. It's not excessive. I agree with you. I would want it to be louder for roads like this. But then those cracks and overruns, they're nice.
Yeah.
I know that
It gives you something.
it does. It gives you the reward for revving it out. So the steering wheel, now we've got the steering in normal as opposed to race. This is way better. This feels so much better. It's not as artificially heavy. You can actually get more feel through the road. Like you feel some of these bumps. You actually feel more of what the car is doing because it's not just adding this artificial heavy weight. It still doesn't have a lot of feedback, but I think that's probably by design. I don't think they wanted to make something that's wriggling around in your hand because that gets tiring for the daily drive.
Yeah.
That's probably more of a design choice than anything else.
There is heaps of grip as it's all-wheel drive, and traction control wasn't bothered on this warm, dry road, even at speed. However, it is a Haldex system, which means it's basically front-wheel drive until it detects slip. This means it feels safe and has plenty of grip, but isn't that exciting to drive at the limit? And the steering is really numb, and it has about as much feel as a Michael Bay movie. I intentionally pushed the car too hard into understeer, and the first I knew that the front tyres had actually lost grip was because the tyres were squealing, not because the chassis or the steering gave that feedback, which is what you're looking for in a sporty car.
Stuck behind traffic like this, in some cars, it's really frustrating because the car just feels like it wants to lurch and go and it's being restrained back. Whereas this car's character is quite comfortable sitting behind people like this. It's like, it's fine. We could overtake them if we wanted to, but it's not an unpleasant experience driving behind traffic, which in the real world, everyday driving, you're going to be sitting in traffic a lot more than not. And I get this makes sense. this makes a lot of sense because it's not like a dog pulling at the leash constantly. Where this car, it genuinely just feels like it wants to be driven at 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, and no more than that.
The Special Edition seems like okay value for money for what is essentially a better OEM sound system, exhaust system, some visual upgrades, and better brakes. Whilst tuning for more power is easy on these cars, turbos have been known to fail even at stock power, so be aware. If you go with the manual, clutches are apparently the same as the Golf GTI and don't really last with the increased Golf R's power outputs. Water pumps and rear main seals are also susceptible to failure on these cars, but otherwise it's just normal servicing at German brand pricing. There are a host of competitors vying for your attention in the hot hatch market, and it really depends on what you prioritise that will help with your selection. It took me far too long to catch on to what this car was up to, but then I finally put my finger on it. It feels like I'm with my ex-girlfriend all over again. I'm being gaslit. Gaslit by that sociopathic personality that this car extrudes. I've been told it's sporty, but really the suspension is just uncomfortable. I've been told it steers like a sports car, but the steering is just artificially heavy and the chassis numb. I've been told it sounds like a sports car, but from the cabin it's muted and the noises it does make are artificial cracks and burbles. I've been told it has a sophisticated all-wheel drive system, but really it's just a front-wheel drive car with a mask on. The moment you try and get close to this car, it's distant. It leaves you cold, leaves you wanting, wondering what you did wrong, why you didn't enjoy it enough. It's your fault, not hers. Why you're not man enough to love her enough. Ultimately, this car misses the mark for me. If VW gave it more sophisticated suspension and renamed race mode to sport mode, then I think this car would nail the brief. In its current guise, regardless of the Special Edition, this is a car that has tried to be a jack of all trades, but ends up a master of none.
Look, if you want an auto, it's a good auto. Do you want an auto? But buy an MX-5. Pro tip, if you want an auto, buy an MX-5. If you want a manual, buy an MX-5. If you want a sports car, buy an MX-5. Have you considered buying another daily? An MX-5 perhaps? Hardtop MX-5, the RF, they're good MX-5, as MX-5s go.